Welcome back, fourth graders. Hope you've had a great spring break. Seems like forever since we've had a lesson together. It also seems like forever since we've heard from Honey Rose. And I have here another journal entry that she emailed to me. It's actually from April 9th. So last Friday, she wrote this in her journal. And from that journal, we're going to practice and review some of these things that we've talked about before our spring break, this page on figurative language. Let's take a look at Honey Rose's journal. She says, I have been having such a sunny, sensational spring break in the Southwest region. Oh, remember, her and Daisy May are heading back, so they took some more time. Since it was spring break anyway, they stayed down there and visited a few more things. We visited some amazing natural wonders, and I wanted to journal about two of them today. Okay, so she's going to tell us about two of her stops. Daisy May insisted that we stop at the White Sands National Monument in New Mexico. It was so strange sand surfing silently on Saturday afternoon. The pictures I sent will help you understand what I mean. It is a desert of white sand as far as you can see. Daisy May was like a surfboard sailing across the sandy desert. All of a sudden, I heard a oof as she fell off and rolled down the rest of the way. Poor Daisy May, I think she thought it would be like sledding on snow, but it was way different. You know, Honey Rose did send some pictures and video. Let's take a look for a second from White Sands National Monument in New Mexico. This is the video that was sent. Honey Rose and Daisy May were heading through White Sands National Monument. Remember, this was in New Mexico, part of our Southwest region. They were so excited to spend a few extra days down there in the Southwest. And you can understand why Daisy May thought that this was like Minnesota. I mean, it looks like it could be in a snowstorm, and here's the piles of snow. But instead, it's white sands down there in New Mexico. But people do sled or surf or sail on the sand, just like they mentioned. Well, that was exciting to find out about White Sands National Monument. I'm so glad that Honey Rose had a chance to stop. She says in her journal also, it says, while in New Mexico, we also stopped at the International Hot Air Balloon Fiesta. Over 500 hot air balloons ascended that afternoon. Our hot air balloon huffed and puffed into the sky, rising higher and higher. It was so cool to see New Mexico from above like that. Well, we are finally heading home. Can't wait to see Mr. Stave and all the online students soon. Well, Honey Rose and Daisy May also sent back some video footage from the Hot Air Balloon Fiesta. This also was down in New Mexico. You can see by the open land and the desert floor there, basically a perfect spot to launch hot air balloons, especially this many, 500 altogether that took off. You can see that this is sped up, so they must have wanted to show us kind of what it all looked like, so they sped up the video. There's also specialty balloons and things that you may recognize as well. Of course, to finish off the night with some fireworks. So I know it's been a while, and it's easy to forget that we've covered all this stuff on figurative language, but in review, figurative language is, remember, language that contains or uses figures of speech. These are all figures of speech that we've covered so far in our reading. And we use figurative language to add color or interest in our writing. Remember, if we can create a picture when we write, then when we read something, we can actually see what the author is trying to describe. It adds interest and color, but it also helps us to picture. What is it that they're trying to write about? And as we read, we can imagine it. We can picture it in our heads. That's way different than literal language. Remember, literal is when the words mean exactly what they say. Figurative they don't necessarily mean exactly what they say. So let's practice once again. Let's say together these words on 3. Let's try alliteration. All together, unmute, and then mute again after you're done on 3. Alliteration. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Alliteration. Again, when you mute, you say it to yourself. Alliteration, alliteration, alliteration. That's when you repeat the first sound over and over again. That first sound, like in a music lyric, shows up. Then onomatopoeia, that mouthful of a word. Let's all say onomatopoeia on 3. Unmute your mics. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Now say it to yourself when you're mute or when your mic is muted. Onomatopoeia, onomatopoeia, onomatopoeia. Words used to imitate or used to describe a sound like bang and pop and pow. Then we went on to similes. When you compare two things using the words like or as. Let's say simile, easy one. Simile on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Simile, simile, simile. Saying it to yourself. Metaphor kind of goes along with simile. It's also when you compare two things that are alike, but you don't use the words like or as. You compare one thing to another thing, like I'm a big dill, like comparing me to a dill pickle. I'm a big dill is a metaphor. Simile, but you have to use the words like or as for it to compare two things. And then finally, let's practice saying metaphor on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Metaphor, metaphor, metaphor. Good. And then the final one in review, again, kind of a mouthful, kind of like onomatopoeia. It's a bit more for us to say. It's got more syllables. The word personification. Personification on 3. Ready? Personification. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. And then say it to yourself. Personification. Personification. Person. Remember that little hint. When you give human qualities to non-human things. When you have things act like a person. Like a waffle that acts like a person. That's personification. So a lot to review. We kind of covered quite a bit before the break, and so now after break we have to remember where we left off. Wow, that was sure a lot for us to review. I know one thing, I can't wait for these two crazy dogs to get back here to Minnesota from their trip down in the Southwest. As we wait for Honey Rose and Daisy Mae to get back here to Minnesota, your assignment then is to go on the canvas and find in her journal, the one that she just sent us, the newest one, a few of these figures of speech once again to review and practice. Notice there's only one of each of these, except for the first one, alliteration. There is 2 of those. So go and try to find these in that journal and then submit it for review today. All right, good luck. We will see you again tomorrow.